Welcome to an inside job. First of all, I'd like to thank LATV, Carl, Jack, Jane, and Robert. There's just so much support with this thing, and I say it every week, and it just goes so smooth, and I just can't say enough for these guys. My name's Ron, and I host this show. This show is going to be number 6. And this is my friend Mike, and I'll introduce him in a second. So every week I want to read this, just because it's so real for me, and I agree with it so much. But the guy's name is Dr. Gabor Mate. He's an MD. His book, one of Realm of the Hungry Ghost, Addiction, Biological, Chemical, Neurological, Physiological, Medical, Social, Political, Economical, Spiritual, and I want to put theological in there. So, thank you, Mike. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Known you for a while, and you really push hard with this thing, and I think it's working. So, how old are you?
I am 40 years of age.
40 years of age, all right. How old were you when you started this thing?
I picked up alcohol probably like 8th grade year, probably 14, going to high school parties and stuff.
Yeah. And when did it take off?
I believe my addiction really took off when I tried crack cocaine for the first time, the age of 18 and a half. 18
and a half. Yeah. And I believe you set up, was it a friend or?
It was my older brother.
Oh, that's right. You came home from a basketball game and you tried it?
Yeah, I was out playing basketball, and it was just, a regular day in the summertime. I was came home, and my brother and a friend of his was in one of our bedrooms, and he asked me if I wanted to try it, and I made the mistake and said yes.
And you fell in love.
Yeah, that first hit. I found out later that they call it a bell ringer, and
never heard of it.
Yeah, it's like you get that first blast, and I was hooked. From that day on, I chased that hit for the next 20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
What? How old were you when you got married?
Oh wow! You're gonna get my wife to be upset with me. Probably like 3 years ago. No, 5 years.
So but you were together for a while.
Yeah, my wife and I had been together. Now it's almost going on 10 years.
Yeah.
So we've probably been married about almost 3 years now.
Yeah, but you've been together, and she knows.
My wife, she knows everything about me.
She watched you for 10 years of the 20 years.
Yeah. She's seen me at my worst, and she's now seen me at my best.
And I believe you told me that when you first got together, she didn't know
She had no idea. Actually, I had just come off of like a 7th month. I was in a detox, then a holding for 2 months, and I was in a halfway house for like a month and a half, and I had just relapsed like a month prior to meeting her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But she had no idea. She had no idea what my actual, how bad it was with me.
Yeah. But she got to understand that.
Oh yeah, she did.
I'm not trying to be funny, but
I hear you.
There's so many inside jokes with people in the program. We just know, we know each other. There's a bond.
Yep.
Even, and it's really crazy that upon meeting somebody that's coming in, not everybody, but acceptance and wisdom, and I don't know. I just came back this morning, and I always have to say, we are not promoting AA, but this is what Mike and I and the other people, this is how we got better. Okay. So, at what age did you know you had a problem?
It was at the age of 19. I knew I had a problem because that whole year prior, I never had money on me, but I worked. I bought my first brand new car. It was a 1994 Mitsubishi Eclipse, and I brought it home from New Hampshire, and I showed my dad, and I remember I was, so I figured I'd go to the high school party to show my friends, so I got all dolled up, and as I was driving away from my house, that was the first time my disease told me that what I was doing, that I realized it's like something was pulling me away from that of what I wanted to do, and that was the first time I thought about killing the first and only time I thought about committing suicide. I was driving down a street in Oxford, I think it's called Old Southbridge Road, and I remember saying, I'm going to crash into this tree. I just knew, because I knew I wasn't going to have money to pay the payment, the car insurance.
Oh.
It all came together like, wow, Mike, something's wrong. I didn't know I was an addict at the time. All I did was add one and one together, and knew I wasn't going to have money to pay for this car. And thankfully, God popped in my head, I think, or the idea of God popped in my head. I grew up Catholic, and I remember them saying, if you kill yourself, you don't go to heaven. And so I didn't crash my car that day, but I still went to Worcester, and I still went and got crack cocaine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me some interesting stories about your vehicles.
Yeah. Probably from that, for the next 20 years, every car I owned, except this vehicle today, every car previous to this vehicle, I definitely gave it to the drug dealer at one point in time, for the exchange of drugs.
And not too much drugs.
Not too much at all. Not at all.
Vicious.
Yeah.
And you could see it all happening.
Yeah.
Right in front of you.
Yeah.
The guilt and shame and all that, just knowing, I just gave my car away.
Yeah.
And I never did crack or heroin, but I've done a lot of drugs. But crack,
Yeah.
it's endless. And one hit, the crack pipe, it doesn't last too long, does it?
Nope. Not as long as not as long as I would have liked.
Yeah.
It definitely.
How long do you think before it starts dissipating?
I think it might be different for other people. For me, it was, maybe like 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'd want to put another one on and
Right.
get high again. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's different with everybody, because like I was telling you in the car earlier, I mean, I tried heroin, and
Right.
because I'm a good addict, I tried it 3 or 4 times, and it didn't take.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it. I didn't like the way it made me feel. And like with the booze, I mean, the booze, I didn't like the way it made me feel, but I did it because it was so acceptable. But it always got me in serious trouble.
Explain to me when you first started going away, detox or long-term program. How old were you?
Detox, I was actually in my late 20s. I went to my first detox. I forget why I even went. And if I had to guess, it was probably to get a girlfriend off my back. And I don't remember which one, but I remember when I got to that detox, I finally felt at ease, because I felt like somebody knew something was wrong with me. I finally felt like I could never tell anybody I had this problem, but I felt when I went to detox, that was like my cry out that I needed help. Unfortunately, I didn't know, or I didn't listen to what the aftercare was. I kind of thought, I get out of here 3-4 days and I'd be better.
Right.
And I had to do that probably, and I've been to probably 3 or 4 detoxes in my life.
3 or 4?
Yeah.
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 So you'd get out and no AA, right?
No AA, no NA, no treatments, nothing. I'm not sure if I was like not ready or I was too cool for school.
Yeah.
That type deal. I'm really not sure. But the detox that I went to last was Cab Danvers. That was the one.
Cab. It's a big one, right?
Yeah. That was the one I met before I met my wife. That was the longest time I had stayed sober.
Which was how long?
Probably like 6 months. 6 and a half months.
Yeah.
And even then, the meetings that I went to when I was in that halfway house, it wasn't really sinking in. It didn't really sink in. I wasn't not really sure. I guess I always figured I could control my drug use. When I went to those meetings, nobody ever came up to me and said hi, except for the guys that were in the house with me.
So that was a halfway house, not the Tewksbury one.
No, the Tewksbury thing was just a holding to hold me until I decided where I wanted to go as far as a halfway house.
So that was before the halfway house.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I went to the Casper house in Somerville.
How many people in the house?
Casper house?
Yeah.
Probably 12 to 15 guys.
That's a good size.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I probably kind of used that place as just a place to get my crap together.
Yeah.
Just to still thinking I could control this thing on my own. And now that I think about it, that was the disease lying to me.
Yeah.
Just lying to me enough to get everybody off my back.
Yeah.
So everybody could put their guard down, and I could go back out there.
Who was everybody?
Mostly when I say everybody, I mean like my parents, my boss that I was working for at the time. Because at that point now I have no friends.
Yeah.
I pushed everybody away this past 20 years. The only people I didn't was my girlfriends my girlfriends, whoever I was with at the time. Because nobody else wanted to hang out with me, and if they did, I was so busy isolating, getting high. For the last 20 years, I would say I'm going here to hang out, and I would never get there.
So you got out, let's just say the Casper house, and where did you go from there?
I end up going back to my mother's boyfriend's house.
Okay.
He was my boss at the time.
Oh.
I was doing electrical work here in Leominster, and stayed there for a little while, and then I met my wife, Stacy, and then I dated her for a year before we kind of made it official. And then once we made it official, once she moved in with me, at that point I was living with my mother up in Gardner, and she got to see who I really was.
Yeah. When you got out of Casper House, how long before you picked up?
I relapsed when I was in the Casper house.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to see it. My previous girlfriend, and my stomping grounds was Worcester, so she lived out in towards Springfield, and I had delusions that she might want me back, and she didn't, and I used that as an excuse to pick up on my way back through Worcester towards the Casper House, which was in Somerville. And by the time I showed up there, it was already past curfew. They told me to get lost.
They kicked you out?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Then where?
I went to my mother's boyfriend's house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were working for him?
Working for him.
But either of those are in recovery, or?
No. What do you mean?
The boyfriend and your mother, either one, not in recovery?
No.
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 But you were working for your...
Yeah, they kind of watched me. You know, they would protect me.
Yeah.
Like, he probably should have fired me the first week I was there. You know, but you know, he was really, really good to me.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
It's cost you a lot of years. It cost me a lot of years. But we're sitting here. We understand. It's wisdom that we understand that whole thing for whatever reason. And everybody has different views of, you know, why me? Why did that happen? Yeah, your mother not in recovery. How about grandparents, just not to go way up there, but
Nope.
So no, except for your siblings, or one brother anyway.
Yeah.
That was it. That began.
Yeah.
That began that cycle.
Yeah.
Do you have any other long-term treatment? No.
No.
Let me ask you this. When you picked up the crack pipe coming through Worcester, immediately, were you running again?
Oh yeah.
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 Immediately.
Immediately. Yeah.
And you thought you could control it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I fought it to the end. I fought it, you know, I fought it like Mike Tyson. I wasn't, you know, I'm stubborn. And I didn't know any other way. I just didn't. I got sober in '82, but before that, I had no idea. I knew I had a problem, but I had no idea of what to do. And I went down to the bottom. How about you? What floor did you get off the elevator?
I got off the elevator. I had gone out one night, and my wife played a good little trick on me. A couple times she's played tricks on me to get me sober. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and you know, she would wait up for me while I was out. She knew what I was doing. So I was walking up my driveway, and you know, I was trying to hide so she wouldn't see me. And she called me over. She said, "Mike, it's all right. Come on over here. Just come in the house." And so I took that. I was okay. She's gonna forgive me again. You know, I got another one past her. And so I walked up to her and I had my head down, and she threw me a haymaker right into my chin.
Yeah.
And that was the first time anybody's ever put their hands on me in a long time. So that was a wake-up call. That was a wake-up call, and she said, you know, look at your kids, look what you're doing. And
you had two by then?
Yeah, Michael and McKinley. And so then she brought me. Then we finally went into the house, and I gave her the old song and dance. I'm gonna go to AA. I'm gonna go to NA. I'm gonna do all the things they were supposed to do. And I think at that point she was already tired of hearing that. So the next day in the morning, she said, you know, Mike, if you're so, I used to tell her how smart I was all the time. So she said, Mike, if you're so smart, she goes, how would you tell another addict to get sober? So, you know, I took it as a challenge, you know, the first step I told her was, you know, I would make them go to a lot of AA meetings. And you had to go to a lot of AA meetings, at least 2 or 3 a day. And then number 2 was they can't have any money on them, no debit cards, no money. And number 3 was take away their cell phone. Number 4 was take away their car keys if they had a vehicle, and just, you know, put blockers in so they couldn't get high, or couldn't have access to money to get high.
Yeah.
And the only reason I didn't put like stealing stuff, because at that point I wasn't, the only thing I ever stole or taken was, you know, our house for family debit card. But and then she said, "Okay, Mike, that's what you're gonna do," and I was like, "Oh man," I just probably the best thing that she ever did, you know, because she made me stick to those rules. And an hour later, I walked down to the Leominster Unitarian noontime meeting, and that's where I met my sponsor. Changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So late 20s? Did you? No.
As far as
When did you make that visit down to the UU Church? How old were you?
2.5 years ago. 37 years old.
37. First time.
First time.
And she was the one who, well, you knew about it.
I knew about it. But something had changed. Something changed when I walked into that noontime meeting, and I think obviously I was ready, because I've been ready since I was 18 to quit. You know, and when I was 18, I didn't know how to tell somebody, hey, I need help. I was embarrassed. I had all the insecurities of being a junkie. You know, it's not what the plan was, so to speak. But you know, after so many years of using, now you know, your disease tells you whatever it needs to tell you to keep you out there. But you know, after my wife punched me in my face, seeing my kids, and putting all those rules into place, now I have nothing. There's no foreseeable next high in my future unless I rob somebody, which those days are way past me. And then I walked down to the Unitarian, and I saw all the hope that I needed in my sponsor. He had previously seen me at a previous meeting where I told my wife that I'd go down to, you know, I'd catch a meeting real quick and get her off my back. You know, my sponsor had come up to me previously, and he told me his story, and I thought it was way worse than I thought it was way worse than my story. And so when I had seen him that next time at the Unitarian, I was a little fresher as far as like not being high, and I saw all the hope in his eyes, and he said he loved this program, and you know, and that's exactly what I needed to hear. You know, I needed somebody to tell me that, you know, this is the place I needed to be. I needed to see his hope, and then I looked around, and everybody's smiling. Most people were smiling and talking to other people.
And that's a discussion meeting.
Yeah.
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 I love discussion meetings.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You get all the you know, you can get a lot of, for me, I got a lot of my guilt off my chest.
Right.
People could see where I was at mentally, spiritually, and you know, and the people and the members would come up to me after the meeting and say, you know, Mike, just keep coming.
Right.
You know, we love you, we need you, keep coming. And,
right.
And so I did. And I did, and you know, that's why I go back. So
go. I know the story. What happened? What'd you have? How many years sober at that point? You came in.
Yeah.
You were clean and sober for how long?
For a year and 4 months.
And then what happened?
I put myself in a bad situation. The person I ran into at a store, I knew they were active, and you know, I should have just cut the conversation real short and just walked away, but I didn't. I hung out with him a little longer than I should have, and at that point, I wasn't doing exactly what the program suggests. At that point, I wasn't talking to anybody in AA every day. as they suggest. I wasn't active in I wasn't active, how they say, get active, greet people, make coffee, do anything. Just
Commitments.
Yeah, just like get active and make
Right.
friends and make sober
Right.
friends. I was basically just kind of, doing my own thing, kind of like saying hi to everybody, but not being active. Because at that point too, I really wasn't even sure if everybody was sober in AA.
Right.
I just wasn't sure. It was my first time around. But yeah, then I put myself in a bad situation.
It's funny, not so funny. I've sponsored a lot of people through my 34 years. I asked each one of them, and there's many, if you're gonna have a drink, call me.
Yeah.
I'll come down there, I'll carry you on my back, I don't care, we'll go to meet, we'll go to dinner, I'll sit with you. Never has one of the people I sponsored gave me a call and said, I want a drink. Just, whatever happens, who knows that moment. We were talking with somebody and she has more than 3 months put together now. And we're at Dunkin' Donuts and I heard her say, yeah, she's a waitress now, but I know somebody who is, there might be an opening as a bartender, And I don't say anything to people if they don't ask me, but I was on that, it's just that, that's not her problem, booze, all right? And you know how many times I've heard that through the years? Many, 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 because it's right there. I don't care what it is, we're addicts, and it's right there at that moment, and something little happens, something big happens, something traumatic is happening in life, and boom, yeah. And then boom, all the way. But when you met the person at the store, did you pick up with that person?
Yeah. Okay.
And at that time, you couldn't see anything. You couldn't see what you knew was going to happen, or where it was going to take you. It was in an instant.
In an instant. Right? And go ahead.
How long did you run with that one?
For about 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. Very congratulations on being that honest, because you have to come in and face everybody and admit you screwed up. In that sense, it just came to me, but you're helping other people at the same time, saying, yeah, I did it, but I'm back here, and you're back there, and now it's been how long?
9 months.
9 months. Yeah. Clawing your way back, yeah. Right? Yeah. You're very, very active in the program, but I know that the young people's meeting you have a lot to do with.
Yes. Yep.
And it's not just for young people, right?
It's not just for young people. It's more or less for young people in sobriety.
Right.
It's for a meeting on Wednesday night that somebody might not be able to get to in the town. If there's no meeting in town, Leominster, it's a good meeting just to go to.
Right.
We have all ages there, from like 16 to 55.
Is that an open meeting?
Yes.
Anybody can come. An open meeting discussion means that people from the outside can come in. Yep. There's some closed meetings. And I suggest it for somebody who's struggling with their son, daughter, somebody struggling with themselves to try to understand this thing, to come in and understand how we understand about it. Oh, yeah. We've seen it a million times. Usually what I've witnessed, let's see, anyway, I lost my point. that's honest.
I would like to say something about the young people. You know, I feel if I was strong enough when I was 18 or 19, if I had the balls, say, to tell anybody that I had an addiction problem, I think if you know, if I had told somebody, my parents brought me to the young people's meeting that I'm a part of, I think that I might have had a better chance. Maybe caught this thing, probably maybe saved myself many years. Because then I wouldn't have felt so alone.
Right.
I felt like I was like, because you know, before I came to AA, I thought my story was the absolute worst. I thought I was the devil.
Right.
You know, I literally thought things that just weren't true. I thought my childhood was the worst, because that's all I knew. I only knew my life.
Right.
And then I came to, you know, I came to AA, and I found out that, you know, there are a lot of people just like me, worse stories, not as bad stories, but I finally felt like I was a part of, you know, people just going through what I go through. And I look at it, you know, I grew up playing sports. I look at it as being part of a team.
Yeah.
You know, and there's certain times when you're a part of a team, you get a call on certain teammates to help you get through a certain part of a game.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. After my first suicide attempt, that they threw me in the detox, and I was young. I was probably 27, and there was just no way I was going to be with these people. No way. And so that maybe that kept me away from AA or NA, because, well, I was only there for a little while. I said, get me out of here. But anyway, what do you think would help with this epidemic, with this problem?
What I think would help?
What do you see helping?
I think only awareness. The younger, the better.
Yeah.
Like my two kids, they'll know exactly about addiction, about alcohol and drugs.
Right.
I'm going to introduce this into their lives as much as, you know, them going to school, learning math. You know,
good point.
It's good as much as them learning if you know, who came over on those 3 ships, whatever.
Right.
You know, I think kids learning about addiction is way more important than any of that junk, because knowing that is really good, but this will save their life. Knowing about addiction, alcohol, everything. You know, it's just it stinks to say that, but it's just reality. You know, reality is you have to be honest with your kids. Just as dangerous as crossing the street, and that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. And when I asked you to be on the show, you said yes immediately, and it does take a lot of guts. You're throwing you out there, some really personal stuff out there, and it's to help.
Yep.
It's to help.
Yep.
It's to help.
Yeah, because if I think about, oh, people are going to find out that I might be a junkie, or, you know, but I'm a junkie in recovery. And if it helped, I could care less about my reputation. I didn't care about it before, so why should I start caring about it now?
Good point.
You know?
Did your wife ever come to meetings with you?
I have a feeling she might have stopped in with me once or twice.
Yeah.
She pushed me towards them. I know, I'm not sure. I know she's driven me to at least 2 detoxes. But, yeah.
It must have been a happy trip.
Oh yeah, well, not really. I know, not really. I remember telling her, trying to talk her out of it, trying to find every excuse that would get that nerve for her to turn the car around.
Yeah.
But thank God she didn't. Thank God she didn't.
Yeah.
You know?
I think we're going to wrap it up. I didn't check the clock, so I don't know if we're over, under, but it's been a pleasure. It's really been a pleasure having you down here doing this. You're courageous for doing this, man. And you're active. You're active. You want to help. in other forms in AA, NA, and yeah.
Yes. Actually,
Yeah.
can I say one thing?
You can say as many as you want.
You know, I didn't get sober to be miserable. I like to have fun in sobriety, which I found out that you
Yeah.
can do. And like Ron had mentioned, I am part of the young people's group that meets at the St. Mark's Church every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock until 8:15. All are welcome. I like to say, if you're not dead, you're young. And we're also going to be holding a sober dance October 1st at the Unitarian Church.
Yeah.
And you know, all are welcome. Come down. We'll show you to have. I think we'll better have a good time that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The UU Church, my wife is the minister there, and it's like AA Mecca.
Yeah.
And it's central downtown. But it's just so great to have that, and for the church to say, okay, because it comes with a lot of baggage. You know, there's a lot of good people, sinners, saints,
Yeah.
new people coming in, and but they say okay. They say okay. One more thing, and it's what you just hit on, is the District 26 and how fortunate we are with everything that they do for sober events. There's a whale watch coming up. I'm going. And everything's at a pretty good price. There's boats that go out down in Plum Island. There's 2 a week. They're going out now.
Yeah.
There's barbecues, and you're right. You can have a good time staying sober.
You can, absolutely.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, anytime.
We're going to wrap it up. Thanks, thanks a lot, and that's a wrap.